When approaching a traffic signal displaying a steady yellow arrow, drivers A. should merge into a lane in the direction of the arrow. B. should slow to a stop, if it is safe to do so. C. may turn left after yielding to oncoming traffic and pedestrians. D. have the right of way and may expect oncoming traffic to stop for them. B. should slow to a stop, if it is safe to do so. A steady yellow arrow indicates that a red arrow is about to appear. Stop unless you are already within the intersection. Always signal when A. changing lanes, B. pulling into or out of a parking space, C. pulling into traffic from an alley or parking area, D. all of the above. D. all of the above. Always use the proper turn signal when changing lanes, pulling into or out of a parking space, or pulling into traffic from an alley or parking area. Communicate with other drivers on the road to help prevent accidents. On a freeway, you realize you missed your turn or exit. You should A. make the turn quickly from your lane of travel. B. stop and back up. C. continue driving until you reach the next turn, exit, or other location where you can safely turn around. D. signal other drivers to stop so you can turn. C. continue driving until you reach the next turn, exit, or other location where you can safely turn around. If you miss your turn or exit, do not back up, but go on to the next turn or exit where you can safely turn around. It is illegal to back up on a shoulder or a freeway. When preparing to turn left, drivers should A. slow down gradually while checking their rear-view mirror. B. move into the left lane. C. watch for oncoming vehicles and pedestrians. D. all of the above. D. all of the above. As you approach a left turn, signal your intentions 3 to 5 seconds in advance. Continually check your rearview mirror as you gradually slow down. On a multi-lane road, move into the left lane before reaching the intersection where you plan to turn. Yield to traffic and pedestrians and turn when your path is clear.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
This sign means A. slippery when tow B. tow-away zone, C. steep downgrade, D. roadwork ahead. This sign means A. trucks are permitted on an upcoming narrow bridge, B. the bridge ahead is open to one-way traffic only, C. the bridge ahead is wide enough for only one car at a time, D. the bridge ahead may be too narrow to meet or pass a truck, D. the bridge ahead may be too narrow to meet or pass a truck. Warning signs are used to warn drivers about upcoming hazardous conditions and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign warns drivers that an upcoming bridge may be too narrow to meet or pass a truck and that they should be careful. This road sign means A. intersection ahead, B. steep grade ahead, C. winding road, D. merging traffic. What are the colors of signs that tell you the distance to the next exit on a highway? A. yellow with black letters, B. black with white letters, C. red with white letters, D. green with white letters, D. green with white letters. Signs providing information about destinations are green with white letters or symbols. The most important thing to remember about speed management and curves is that you must A. Drive at the posted speed limit as you enter the curve, then slow down at the sharpest part of the curve. B. Slow down before you enter the curve. C. Accelerate gently before you enter the curve. D. Drive at the posted speed limit before, throughout, and after the curve. B. Slow down before you enter the curve. The most important thing to remember about driving in curves is that your vehicle's inertia may make it difficult to turn. To maintain control, it is essential that you slow down before entering the curve. You are waiting in the intersection to complete a left turn. You should A. Signal and keep your wheels turned to the left. B. Signal and keep your wheels straight. C. Flash your headlights so drivers will let you through. D. Drive around the rear of a car if it blocks you. This road sign means A. Side road. B. Keep to the side indicated by the arrow. C. You may drive in the left lane. D. You have the right of way. B. Keep to the side indicated by the arrow. This is a keep right sign. It indicates that a traffic island, median, or barrier is ahead and that drivers must keep to the right of it. A yellow and black diamond-shaped sign. A. Warns you about conditions on or near the road. B. Helps direct you to cities and towns ahead. C. Tells you about traffic laws and regulations. D. Tells you about road construction ahead. A. Warns you about conditions on or near the road. Warning signs, which tell you about conditions on or near the road ahead, are usually diamond-shaped with black symbols or words on a yellow background. This sign means A. One-way traffic. B. Intersection ahead. C. Merging traffic from the right. D. Highway curves ahead. C. Merging traffic from the right. This sign indicates that there is merging traffic entering from the right. When approaching an accident scene, you should A. Keep your attention on your driving. B. Keep moving. C. Stop if you are involved or if emergency help has not yet arrived. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Do not stop at an accident scene unless you are involved or emergency help has not yet arrived. Keep your attention on your driving and keep moving, watching for people who might be on or near the road. Never drive to the scene of an accident, fire, or other disaster just to look. You may cross solid yellow lines. A. To pass traffic moving in the same direction. B. During daylight hours only. C. At any time. D. When making turns. D. When making turns. As a general rule, broken traffic lines may be crossed but solid lines may not. Solid yellow lines may be crossed only when the driver is making a turn. To prevent hydroplaning, you should A. Ensure that your tires have good tread depth. B. Ensure that your tires are properly inflated. C. Reduce your speed when driving in the rain. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. To prevent hydroplaning, you should ensure that the tires on your vehicle have good tread depth and are inflated to the proper pressure. Reduce the speed of your vehicle when driving in the rain. Hydroplaning occurs most frequently at higher speeds. When entering a street from a driveway, you a. must drive slowly to allow approaching vehicles and pedestrians time to get out of your way. B. Must honk your horn so approaching vehicles and pedestrians know to give you room. C. Must stop and proceed only when there are no pedestrians or vehicles approaching. D. Can disregard any pedestrians if there is no sidewalk. C. Must stop and proceed only when there are no pedestrians or vehicles approaching. Always stop before entering the roadway from a driveway and yield to any approaching vehicles or crossing pedestrians. The stop should be made before crossing the sidewalk area. Failure to stop is unlawful. This sign means that a. A community service group is picking up trash along the highway ahead. B. Workers are on or very close to the road in the work zone ahead. C. Children are at play ahead. D. There is a pedestrian crosswalk ahead. B. Workers are on or very close to the road in the work zone ahead. This sign indicates that workers may be on or very close to the roadway ahead, so you should take special care when traveling through the area. This sign means a. You must turn left or right. B. You are approaching a T intersection. C. The road that you are on intersects with a divided highway. D. You are on an overpass above a divided highway. C. The road that you are on intersects with a divided highway. This sign indicates that the road that you are on intersects with a divided highway. A divided highway is two one-way roadways separated by a median or guide rail. When driving on wet pavement, it's important to remember a. That pavement is especially slippery right after it starts to rain. B. That wet roads can cause hydroplaning. C. To give yourself additional space when coming to a stop. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Wet roadway surfaces can be dangerously slick, especially immediately following a rainfall. When you are driving on wet roads, your vehicle is traveling on a thin layer of oil, dirt, and water. Slow down when there is heavy rain, standing water, or slush on the road to reduce the risk of your wheels losing traction on the slick surface. You approach an emergency vehicle that is stopped with its lights flashing. You must a. Slow down. If possible, change lanes so you will not drive next to the stopped emergency vehicle. B. Drive to the right side of the road and stop. C. Stay in your lane and continue to drive at the same speed. D. Accelerate to quickly pass the stopped vehicle. A. Slow down. If possible, change lanes so you will not drive next to the stopped emergency vehicle. If you approach an emergency vehicle, tow truck, or roadside assistance vehicle that is stopped with its lights flashing, you must change lanes to allow the vehicle extra space. If there is only one lane moving in your direction, or if changing lanes would be unsafe, you must slow down to a speed below the posted speed limit and give the stationary vehicle as much room as possible. Always slow down and be prepared to stop when you approach an emergency scene. If you are stopped by a police officer, you should a. Unbuckle your seat belt and lower your window. B. Get your paperwork ready before the officer reaches your car. C. Stay in your vehicle with your hands on the steering wheel and wait for the officer to approach you. D. Get out of your car and walk toward the patrol car. C. Stay in your vehicle with your hands on the steering wheel and wait for the officer to approach you. If you are stopped by the police, keep your hands on the wheel and ask any passengers to keep their hands in view as well. You should remain in the vehicle unless the police officer asks you to get out. Wait until the officer asks you to retrieve your driver license, registration, and insurance cards. As a pedestrian, you should A. Always insist on the right-of-way over a vehicle when using a crosswalk. B. Never enter a street or crosswalk when vehicles are approaching. C. Enter a crosswalk at any time because it is the vehicle driver's responsibility to stop. D. Use crosswalks only if they are convenient. This sign is a A. Service sign. B. Regulatory sign. C. Warning sign. D. Stop sign. A person walking with a white cane or guide dog is likely to be A. A deaf person. B. A person involved with a traffic study. C. A blind person. D. None of the above. C. A blind person. Drivers must always yield the right-of-way to a pedestrian when the pedestrian is a blind person who is using a white cane or guide dog. You are driving on a busy street and your vehicle's accelerator sticks open. You should A. Blow your horn. B. Slam on your brakes. C. Turn on your four-way flashers. D. Turn off your ignition, taking care not to engage the steering wheel locking mechanism. Drivers must yield to a pedestrian? A. Even if the pedestrian crosses the street carelessly. B. Only when the pedestrian is in a crosswalk. C. Only if the pedestrian is on the same side of the road as the driver. D. If the pedestrian uses a hand signal to ask oncoming drivers to stop. A. Even if the pedestrian crosses the street carelessly. Drivers must always yield to pedestrians in the street, even if they are crossing against a red light or are otherwise being careless. When driving in fog. A. Use your parking lights. B. Use your low beams. C. Use your high beams. D. It makes no difference which lights you use. B. Use your low beams. You should use low beam headlights when driving in fog, rain, or snow. Certain highway signs require drivers to obey an indicated instruction. Such signs are known as A. Regulatory signs. B. Warning signs. C. Information signs. D. Guide signs. A. Regulatory signs. Regulatory signs require drivers to obey an indicated instruction. Failure to comply is subject to penalty. If you are driving on a one-way street and an emergency vehicle using its flashing lights approaches your vehicle, you must A. Drive with your flashers turned on. B. Drive toward the nearest roadside and stop. C. Speed up and take the nearest exit. D. Slow down until the vehicle passes you. B. Drive toward the nearest roadside and stop. If an emergency vehicle using its lights or siren approaches while you are driving on a one-way street, you must drive toward the nearest roadside and stop. Work zone signs mean A. It is summer. B. You must immediately stop and back up. C. Less than ideal conditions are present for driving. D. You should drive faster to get out of the work zone. C. Less than ideal conditions are present for driving. Work zone signs are orange and indicate that some type of work is being performed on or alongside the roadway. Be extremely careful when you see these signs. While driving, your wheels slip off the edge of the road. You should A. Jerk the steering wheel to force the vehicle back onto the pavement. B. Speed up and steer back onto the pavement gradually. C. Slam on your brakes and stop. D. Slow down by gently using the brakes. Turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement at a safe speed. D. Slow down by gently using the brakes. Turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement at a safe speed. If your vehicle begins to leave the road, continue to drive with the wheels off the pavement and reduce your speed by gently applying the brakes. When at a safe speed, turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement. Do not attempt to force your vehicle back onto the pavement by sharply turning the steering wheel. When making a turn, you must fill in the blank. Your speed. A. Increase. B. Maintain. C. Vary. D. Reduce. D. Reduce. When turning, you should reduce to a speed that allows you to maintain control of your vehicle, stay in your lane, and react to unexpected situations. This road sign means A. Increase your speed. B. Railroad crossing ahead. C. Intersection ahead. D. Four-way stop ahead. C. Intersection ahead. This sign means that you are approaching an upcoming intersection. Watch carefully for cross traffic. A solid yellow line on your side of the center line means A. Slow down. B. Pass with caution. C. Do not pass. D. Keep right on hills. C. Do not pass. A solid yellow line next to your lane means that passing is not permitted from your direction. Drivers who eat and drink while driving. A. Make no driving errors. B. Have trouble driving slowly. C. Are better drivers because they are not hungry. D. Have trouble controlling their vehicles. D. Have trouble controlling their vehicles. Choosing to eat, drink, or smoke while driving is dangerous because these actions require a driver to remove their hands from the wheel and their eyes from the road. Drivers who engage in distracting activities while driving have trouble staying in their lanes and controlling their vehicles. A driver who is taking a non-prescription drug should A. Read the labels on the drug before driving. B. Drink alcohol instead. C. Continue to drive regardless of any warning labels. D. Drive only during daylight hours. Smoking and preparing to smoke while driving. A. Do not affect driving abilities. B. Help maintain driver alertness. C. Are distracting activities. D. Are not distracting activities. C. Are distracting activities. Smoking while driving can create dangerous distractions by causing you to take your hands off the wheel and/or your eyes off the road. Stop lines are solid white lines painted across traffic lanes. A. In curves and on hills. B. Next to churches and schools. C. At intersections and pedestrian crosswalks. D. On freeway on-ramps. C. At intersections and pedestrian crosswalks. Stop lines are solid white lines painted across traffic lanes at intersections and pedestrian crosswalks. They indicate the exact location at which approaching drivers must stop. It is illegal to follow within. Fill in the blank. Of a fire truck that is sounding its alarm. A. 1 mile. B. 1,000 feet. C. 750 feet. D. 500 feet. D. 500 feet. You must not follow a fire truck responding to an emergency at a distance closer than 500 feet. You must not drive or park your vehicle within a block of where a fire truck has stopped to respond to an emergency.